Okay, alright, let's take a look. Okay, so, it's gonna be the Doinb Lysandra versus the, Showmaker. It's gonna be Showmaker on Yasuo. And we're gonna do the VOD. We're gonna cover his levels 1 to 5. And, yeah. I like his shirt. I really like his shirt. Alright. That was pretty random. Anyways. Okay, so minions have spawned. This is actually more favored for Doin than it is for Showmaker. However, Showmaker can find specific angles against Doinb as long as he uses E. Along with the fact that Graves as well is going to be on our side. So essentially, if all the players play correctly on the left-hand side of the map and nothing too crazy happens towards the right-hand side of the map, then Graves ends up just outscaling Trundle, and that's just really good. This is obviously more beneficial in the current season because of champions that are able to power farm. Essentially, if you're picking champions like Graves, right, and the opponent has, like, let's say an Elise, right, then it's very odd. That's not okay. Well, aside from my writing, we always know that Graves is going to outscale. So if the laners just play like human beings, then Elise will always become, Elise will always just go down in efficiency, and it's always going to be a 4v5 at a certain time in the game because of just how the champions work. Obviously, Elise is an exaggerated champion that is going to find certain openings, and Trundle is obviously not necessarily like that. However, will still end up finding issues against Graves after, certain levels end up, coming through. Also, Graves is banned. I don't know how the fuck it went through, but whatever. Yeah, nice dodges, guys. Really good dodges. What patch is this? If it's the later patches, then I guess it's fine. If it's the recent patches, then you guys are intentionally feeding. Yasuo does actually have, what do you call it? The, cleanse. And now, okay, so you can do a number of things, right? You can choose to play this lane relative to how Graves is going to play it. Now, relative to how top lane is going to be ending up happening, because it is a gangplank and it's not going to be like we want to look to invade on the left-hand side, just relative to how the laners are actually operating despite having the level of priority in mid, we can assume that Graves just wants to do more of a defensive clear, and so standing towards the outskirts of the lane and letting Yasuo, or in this case Showmaker, auto the wave early on actually allows us to play the Dopa Fizz versus TF style, where we can simply get the initial freezes and then simply match wave clear somewhere around this angle. You can do this against other champions as well. However, you have to be cognizant of the fact that you have to have either at least even wave clear or slightly better wave clear to actually get openings like this. Alternatively, if you have a jungler who is looking to actually who's gonna take more aggressive routes, and you can just figure this out both from the matchups in the lanes along with the jungle dynamic, you can then play the lane a little more aggressively, where you can actually start hitting the wave early as Yasuo ends up arriving and looking to push the wave. Okay, seems like he's gonna just take the defensive opening, so we're not actually gonna auto. We're gonna wait for Yasuo to simply show, and here. Seems like, and if you're Yasuo, you should Q the Raptors twice and get the, what do you call it, the Q proc, the Q pass, where you shoot out the tornado with Q, and then you can try to clip him with that. But, yeah. CS's, this is really standard on Yasuo, ends up autoing, and again, same concept. We auto, and this is actually really good. Let me actually change the music. Okay, so we end up autoing Yasuo, and then what ends up happening here is now we actually end up pulling aggro from these three casters along with this melee. But this melee isn't really relevant because we're actually going to kill it off soon, and what's going to happen is this wave is now going to pull up. Now, as this blue minion ends up dying, as these three casters focus on it, the wave is going to be pulled somewhere around this angle, and this is just really good for Doin, because now Yasuo is forced to play the lane a lot more extended, and this is actually really good for early on, like early routes for either this guy or to just shut down anything that Showmaker can actually do against Lysandra. And if you can retain wave states around this area, it just becomes so good for Doin. Right? Ends up hitting, Qs all the minions and tries to get all of them. That's fine. This is really good. Ends up actually missing one, but whatever. And now again, all we're paying attention to is when Showmaker is going to go in for a minion. So this was just an example of what will happen throughout the entirety of the lane. We see that Showmaker has a minion that he wants to hit, which is going to be this. And so we can try to auto him, and it doesn't matter if we end up taking the aggro because we can just pull back the wave. And it seems like Lissandra does actually opt to try to hit him. Unfortunately, doesn't actually find it because Yasuo is aware of the fact that he doesn't actually have any range, so he's going to back off and not take the auto from Lissandra. Obviously, if there were 3 or 4 minions here, or maybe more, the damage coming out from the minions against Lissandra would be a lot less beneficial. And so, even if we auto Yasuo once, we might end up going even in the trade, and that's not necessarily good for us. We Q again. This Q is a little bit weird. I think that if you're going to do something like this, you should wait. This Q doesn't really make sense. Why are you queuing when you can just wait and just auto slowly, and then as Yasuo goes in for a minion, you can try to hit him with the Q. This is very forced, and it doesn't make sense as to why we would ever do something like this. Because we're using unnecessary mana. You can easily just auto this, right? You're not looking to hit all of the minions. You're not looking to crash on the second wave. It doesn't make sense because it's not going to align with any Scuttle Crab timings. If the Scuttle Crab ends up respawning, or it's not respawning, but spawning at 3 minutes and 15 seconds, then it's a lot more beneficial for when we can crash on cannon, because then we can actually assist Graves on the left-hand side of the map. And we can also assume that Trundle, if started on the right-hand side, actually wasn't totally paying attention, but if he did start on the right-hand side, then this is really beneficial for Graves, because then a 3v3, despite having a losing lane early on in top lane, we can still win out, and this puts Graves just so much more ahead of Trundle in the early stages of the game. So this Q doesn't really benefit us in any way. If you're going to do this, either don't do it, or Q as the third wave arrives to crash. You can crash on cannon. Or, alternatively, you Q him when he goes in for a minion to at least get some damage off, but we don't do even that. So, the ability was just really weird. And now, the most optimal call in this point would be to crash at 3:15 in about a minute. So we are going to crash towards, we're going to crash in about a minute. So we can even build cannon, right? We can build cannon and then we can crash. Seems like he just crashes anyway, and then Yasuo ends up thinning out the wave, and then obviously Lissandra spaces against Yasuo as best he can to try to get as much damage as possible. The game timer is 2 minutes and 30 seconds right now, so we would want to crash on wave 4 in order to actually get a what do you call it? A Scuttle Crab assist, right? Yep, this is okay. Yasuo moves in, Qs, Doinb responds with W. Ooh, he was a little late, that's fine. Qs again, gets the auto off. Now we're just chilling. And now at this point, just crash the wave. Because now, what are we trying to do as Lissandra, right? Let's look at the minion wave. Right now, if we do a minion count, right, we can assume that this wave is, we're not going to assume, we actually know this wave is going to push in, because we have what? We have 3 casters, right? So that's 3, 6, 7, and then this one doesn't count. So let's say we have 7 blues versus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 reds. Meaning that this wave will actually push into Yasuo, and so we don't want the 4th wave to lock. If we can hard shove this wave right now, then we can, we could make it lock, but it doesn't necessarily matter, because then, I guess cannon is still going to be available, or not cannon, but the scuttle is still going to be available, because we'll still have priority and control in the lane. However, instead of not slow pushing, we can just hard shove, and then we don't really have to force the lane to end up locking here. So that's why Doinb actually just allows himself to, or just forces the wave into Yasuo. And then notice actually he tries to clip Yasuo with the Q while trying to hit the minions, and this is really nice. Unfortunately, Yasuo plays max range, and he's aware of this. Here UW, yep, UW here, and then you kite back, and then you have the E, and then you move back into him, and then you try to Q. Yep, Q, just Q him. Oh, you already did. Whoops, sorry, I didn't even see that. W, auto. Oh, okay, it was on cooldown. I'm an idiot. Okay, well, that's my fault. That's fine. He's gonna come in, he's gonna W, he's gonna auto. Yep, okay, whoops. Okay, so his Q is actually on cooldown. And now we're just gonna crash. Okay, and then the 4th wave ends up arriving, and then Scuttle will spawn soon as well, and you see Graves on the left-hand side of the map. And here you just want to kill off the next wave. This is pretty good for Yasuo. in the sense where he ends up getting a pretty good lane state, and it's not pushing outwards for him, so pretty bad. Lane management, however, I guess it is pushing back in, because he just queues the entire thing, and that's fine, I guess. Trundle ends up showing on the right-hand side of the map. And then it seems like Graves is just going to do this. And at this point, you can just pull the wave, right? So now, at this point, as Lissandra, you can evaluate that, okay, well, this guy probably is going to go get vision, which really makes no sense. Maybe he's trying to get a recall off, which that in itself it's not going to be very beneficial. So at this point, you could just kill these three, and then you can freeze on the three casters, right? And this is just really good for like the next few waves. Because this is going to set you up for like the next three waves, and it's going to force him into a very awkward angle. Yep, he can't recall here. So pretty poor wave management from Showmaker, and it just seems like Lissandra ends up taking a really good lane state. Now, what do you do as Yasuo after this freeze, right? So what you want to do now is you can acknowledge that there are there's a lot of minions here, and this is going to be a freeze because there's more reds than blues. And so you should just give up your HP to kill the wave. Right? The only downside is this is a moment in the game where Graves may show in mid lane, especially by the way that Vladimir is playing. Vladimir may have W up, and so Graves can't just go, especially against the gangplank. So Graves is gonna look to hit mid more than other lanes, and the way Yasuo could have potentially prevented this is if he had just fixed the lane state somewhere around, I believe, here, where he doesn't actually kill those two minions immediately. Doesn't actually hard queue the wave and push it in, because does this eventually prompt a freeze for the Lissandra. Unfortunately, don't actually have it up there. That's fine. Yep, we get hit by the Q. That's okay too. Whatever. Yep. And now we just want to wait. Right? I think Graves could have just came down, but doesn't come down for some reason. What the fuck? Why are you not coming down? This is so free. I don't know why Graves doesn't just show up. Okay, if Graves just shows up, okay? Yasuo doesn't have teleport. We have teleport. Graves says hi, okay? We have, what? 1, 2, 3, 4. We have like 5 reds. So if he just shows up, Yasuo can't hit these minions. Meaning that if we just hold the wave with a teleport, as Lissandra, we end up getting another freeze. And then that allows him to get hit again, which is probably going to result in a kill. Right? So here, don't just do scuttle. Just show up in mid. And then force Yasuo off the wave. Showmaker actually gets what he wants right now by pushing in the wave, and now he can simply just take a reset. And again, he gets a reset on a really good minion. So now, even if Doinb opts to kill the 6th wave, Yasuo can come back without losing any minions, right? And then he doesn't lose any HP because Graves, for some reason, opted to do Scuttle Crab. And here, this is pretty good. Now, actually, I think he may lose a bit more because Graves ends up shoving. And Yasuo can't clear the 6th plus 7th wave without Lissandra eventually coming back to catch all the XP, but it's still not beneficial, right? It's still not good. And regarding the crash on cannon thing, I actually mistimed it. You can crash on cannon towards the middle and end of the 4th wave, not necessarily on the 3rd wave, because if you do crash on cannon, you're gonna have control on wave 4, which is essentially where Scuttle will respawn, and wave 5 will end up arriving back into you, and then you have a reset in the lane on wave 6. It's a good teleport. Loses some minions, but gets a kill, I guess. And then this is just high tempo mid lane gameplay, and yeah, ends up getting level 6 eventually. Not yet. Yep. Wave 9 again. This is wave 9 because it is a cannon minion, right? And we just want to do step 1, 2, 3 again, where now Camille is actually going to come in, and this is, I think, where he just dies. And this is really good by Showmaker, or by Doinb, because he doesn't actually immediately E. Does that stop Lissandra? If Lissandra E's here, and this guy win walls, that doesn't stop her, right? Because it's a blink, it's not a dash, I think, right? I mean, even if it was a dash, does it matter? It stops her? Jesus, that's actually... Huh. Okay. I didn't know that. That sucks. Yikes. I guess that was really well played by him then. Trundle ends up showing, and then now we end up dying. It's a projectile? Oh, I see. Okay. I thought it was a teleport. Okay. Fair enough. Yep. Wow, we're running Spellbook, so this is actually really good for us. Spellbook actually allows us to play like again, if you're notice the chat here, right? Do this as a mid laner. If you're a high MMR mid laner, or even if you're low elo, just get into the habit of doing this. This is really, really nice, right? He's typing out summoners. He's typing out, you know, flashes. This is something that you want to do. This is what the best players will always do, right? This is what makes you. If you're like what's the word? How to do this? Okay, how you do this is you type it out. You do Control A, right? And then you do Control V, I think. Control A, Control C, Control V. Yeah, sorry. So you copy all of it, and then you I guess you just like spam it, I think is what it is. Yeah, Control A and then Control V. Yes, Control A, Control C, Control V. I think that is how you do this. I mean, I do it myself in games, but I don't think about it, so I actually forget what I do. But anyways, yeah, you do this and you're gonna be a lot better, especially if you're like a player who's trying to get into like an academy team, or if you're in high elo and you're trying to get into like a pro team and you're trying to be noticed. This is the stuff that if you're in NA or EU, do this more, because this is what players in that region just don't seem to do. My Spotify crashed. Right, and this is what's gonna decipher you from like the better players, from like the ones that actually make an effort and try every single game, and that's what teams do want at the end of the day, right? Yeah, that is it for the Doinb versus Lissandra VOD review. I think that it was played pretty well by both players, except for the level where Graves messes up, and the fact that Showmaker messes up his wave control to the point where he allows Lissandra to get a good freeze in. However, mid jungle just didn't pay attention to what they were doing and ended up just kind of benefiting Showmaker at the end of the day. But yeah, this is essentially how you want to lane as Lissandra into Yasuo. Okay, that is it for this VOD, and I will see you guys for the